Hey soccer friends, I just want to give a shout out to our partner, Team Player. They are changing the game on how you find the perfect soccer team for your player. Parents, this means no more endless social media scrolling to find information on teams. With Team Player, everything you need to know is just a few clicks away. It's simple, straightforward, and lets you find the best coach and team for your player without any of the usual headaches. And coaches, we all know how tough it can be to get your team noticed, but when you subscribe to one of Team Player's team plans, you instantly get access to set up an online team profile that allows you to reach more potential players and showcase what your team is all about. It's super easy and lets players and parents see why your team could be the right fit for them. And if you sign up using the promo code PITCH, you can try any team plan free for 1 month. So whether you're managing a team or searching for one, come on over to www.teamplayer.us. That is TEAMPLAYR.US. And come give Team Player a look. Family-owned Soccer Innovation is your go-to source for top quality equipment. Whether you're a player, a supportive family member, or a dedicated coach, they have everything you need to elevate your game. For players, their innovative equipment are designed to boost your skills and performance on the pitch. From their agility cones to their portable goals, they have you covered. And family members, they offer durable equipment that's built to last because we know your support is critical to your player. Coaches, trust me, they can provide the equipment you need to run effective training sessions and shape the next generation of soccer players. Visit Soccer Innovations at soccerinnovations.com to start elevating your game with them. And if you use the code PITCH, PITCH, you can receive up to 10% off your next order. Hello and welcome back to Chat by the Pitch. This is Ian Babcock, your host. This week's episode is part 2 with Coach Alex. This is North Texas Elite Goalkeeper Training. Now, if you follow him on social media, you'll know that he is a straight shooter. He says exactly how he feels, and he doesn't hold back, which is something that's not common anymore. And as you listen in part 1, he kind of talks about that and discuss that. In part 2, we continue diving into this conversation and everything that he's doing. And I really hope you guys take to what he has to say and listen to what he has to say. So let's start this chat and head to the pitch.
So all this comes full circle in development, because having that same squad now compete in the Metroplex Premier League, and having my goalkeepers that are under the Aztec's elite goalkeeping system play for these big clubs such as FC Dallas and BBB and Solar and, et cetera. It prides me because it's no longer these for-profit clubs holding all these talented goalkeepers and charging money. Now I do it for free, and I have all these goalkeepers coming to me and spreading the word out for others that want the same level of training for their goalkeeper but can't afford it. And people might say and argue, and I know they will, to make it short, they're going to tell you, hey, so Coach Alex talked about, monetizing the position and everything, but so what are we supposed to charge? What does he believe we should charge? When it actually is not really about that. My point being is, I want you to look at what you're charging and then ask yourself, how much are these other goalkeepers that you're bringing in? What are these goalkeepers being charged by their club already? So what's the yearly money that they put in for that? You got to also think about the uniforms, the gloves. You also got to see if any other siblings are playing too, and they're playing club too, or they're doing gymnastics, car note, house payment, insurance.
I'm going to get on your little bandwagon here for a minute.
Yeah.
I look at this when my son goes to my son's at a level, he plays pre-ECNL on a pre-ECNL team right now. And I have always had it in my mind. And part of the problem is that the club that he's in, there's not a lot of coaches on this side of town in Keller. There's a lot of team coaches, but they don't have a lot of specialized coaches. Is that like you have your goalkeepers, you have, if we would lived in Allen, this would be a whole different conversation. They would have goalkeeping training put on by someone within the club, and it would be part of the coaching fees. And I know that the location that we're at now, that someone's coming out one day a week, and they have it broken out for all the different age groups, and that person's coming out. But it's only being done because I believe his coach is pushing so hard for it to get keeper training from the club, because he lost his keeper trainer when he merged with Solar. And I get it. It's like you're right on it, because when you have a team, the coach is focused on the field players, not the keeper, because that is his area of specialty. It's not a keeper trainer. Keeper is, in my mind, it's like having your striker go work with a finishing coach, because that's what they do.
Yeah,
and that's
for
what they
those
need.
and to add to that, for those specific coaches here and there, they supplement that by putting the goalkeeper in situations where they train their players to do 1v1s or 2v1s and so on, and pass it on as training for the goalkeeper. Because I had a couple of goalkeeper players come Fridays, and they tell me, Coach, you really the only, because I would ask the question again. I always ask the goalkeepers the question as, what's different from your last goalkeeper? Because like, I've never had one. My only training was coming in, warming up, and going to the goal, and they just shoot the ball at me. That's my training.
Yes.
And then I looked at him like, he's doing that? Yeah. And I won't name him, but he's no longer with me. But I talked to his coach and I told him, hey, man, look, you can't do that. That's not training. They're like, oh, okay, okay. And he was open to it. He wasn't upset or anything. He's like, I thought I was helping him. Like, no, man, you're breaking him down. Because imagine, I mean, your kids are scoring, right? Yeah, yeah. Some they make good shots here and there. Okay. And how many times do you train a week? 3 times a week. And then he comes Fridays to me. Yeah. Do you see now why it's so draining? He goes, what do you mean? Well, do you have a league game? Yeah, usually league game. And then tournament. Okay. So he's learning now with me. But imagine if you take me away and you've been doing this way before I came along. What do you think it did to his confidence? I get what you're getting at. Exactly. So now that I'm changing that, what I suggest you do, you cut that. Some of the drills that I teach him, he'll take him to your training, because I'm not there. He'll train on his own. And the kid did. I taught him a couple of things, 3 drills. I told him, I'm teaching you these 3 drills. When you go to practice, you go out practice, you tell coach, hey, I'm gonna separate myself and go do these drills that coach taught me. Okay. And he did. The coach sent me a message like, hey, he took a picture, sent it to me, and said, hey, he's doing what you taught him. Okay. Are you doing shots on him? No. As soon as we're done, we don't take shots, we go home. Maybe the last practice of the week, we do shots just to make sure he's at. His improvement was immediate. They started winning tournaments here and there, not the best tournaments, but the tournament, you won it. They scaled from maybe the 6th position in the table, went all the way up, 3rd. It's still from 6th to 3rd is still a big jump.
Yeah.
They started seeing the scores go from 5-4, 6-4 to 2-0, 1-0. And it wasn't flashy soccer. He told me about it. We had a conversation. And what do the parents feel? Oh, they feel the team's regressing. No. I says, your team's communicating in the field, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Are you teaching them that? No, I told him that before. Who's talking? Oh, my goalkeeper. Exactly. I said, oh, he goes, well, you're a little bit arrogant yourself, so he probably rub off. It's good. I need him to be confident, man. When he gets scored on, does he get pissed off? Only if the defense messed up. Okay. If it's on him, oh, he just gets up and just, that's all right. We'll be all right. And before, no, he was shut down. Exactly. Within 3 months of the training, all that transpired. So am I pumping up my training to say this is the answer to everything? No, that's selfish. What I am saying is the approach that you bring to that goalkeeper at the club level, all the way when it comes to me, if they never had a goalkeeper coach, it's a big jump. So for them to be able to change those small things as a coach, to be able to listen to the other coach, change what you believe was working, but it wasn't, and to jump from that to that tells you that it's all the way of how you put it together. Because he's no longer with me. He goes to a different goalkeeper coach. My feelings ain't hurt. I just wasn't for him all the way. You know, he obviously there was things that I wasn't focusing on. Because again, I told you I'm not a pat in the back approach coach. I really not. I'll tell you good job, but I don't spend my whole eternity telling you that. He needed a coach like that. So he found that. Mom didn't agree with it. She was like, I want him to train with you, but he doesn't want to. He feels a certain way. He told me about it. And I said, look, I can't change my coaching way for you on this. This is the reason why you're good right now. But yeah, but coach, not all the time. I said, I can't do this, man. Not for you, because then I have to change it for everybody else. Okay. I'll
Eh,
teach you everything I can, but I can't be, I told him I can't be your friend. And when we're training, I'll be your friend after, but I can't do that. And now he's training with another goalkeeper coach. I don't know who he is, but he's doing great. Mom says that, hey, he's liking it. And then the stuff you taught him, that coach was impressed too. He's like, oh, that's pretty actually what I would do. That's, not the way I would do it, because obviously every coach is different, but he has the right idea.
I think that goes back to my mantra as a parent. You have to find the right
Yeah,
coach for your player.
correct.
But as a parent, you do have some say in it because you're investing your time and sometimes your financial side of it. And I
Yeah,
think,
she wanted to stay with me because I wasn't charging her a time. The other goalkeeper always charges, but as a
but there's
joke,
not,
she was there.
but
That's not the point.
that's not the point. It's finding the right coach that can make that contact. And you might not know. You might never know. He might be
Yeah,
coming back to you in a year from now because he's outgrown that
system.
that system where he
Yeah.
needs to have that support because now he's mature enough to handle the harder side of the conversation. I think the best quote that's one of the better quotes Soccer Dave that gave me
Uh-huh.
was if you can teach the players to survive the game today, they have a chance to survive the sport later. It's something along that line. And I think you can't go in it with kitty gloves. You have to go in it with understanding at the end of the day, if they want to go to college, if they want to go play a pro, it's a business. And you won't
Yeah.
get kids' gloves. And you won't have that soft approach to the game. You'll have, if you don't do what you're supposed to be doing, you're sitting the bench. I don't care what the F you're doing. That's where you'll be. And at the end of the season, we'll cut you from the team. We'll take your scholarship. We'll trade you to another club, whatever it may be. And I think parents have to start getting that mindset out of their head that a coach that doesn't give them or have expectations, discipline, and what was the other one? You said two things: commitment and discipline.
Commitment. Yeah.
I think their player won't survive. I know they won't
Yeah.
survive.
Yeah. Understanding, commitment, discipline. Those are the three things that I push in my, I guess, pillars. Later on, I guess I can make pillars for it. But yeah, understanding, commitment, and discipline, because it goes both ways. I told parents from the get-go when they begin with me, discipline goes both ways. You as a parent have to be the same way with your child, and understanding has to come both ways. You both have to understand each other as to what you want. Most recently, I won't put any names, but I just had one of my goalkeepers quit. She doesn't want to play goalkeeper anymore. Mom sent me a long message, thanked me for everything. I spent over 6, 7 months with her, but the love of the position just wasn't there anymore, and she decided to quit altogether. And she thanked me for everything, and I understood that that's going to happen sometimes, and I just have to face the music when situations like that happen. Was I happy? No, obviously, no coach is happy when they lose a player. But I also know that there's always going to be another player that's going to come in wanting what I gave to that player for 6 months. And at the end of the day, I told that parent, hey, at the end of the day, it didn't cost you a thing, did it? She goes, no, I think I should be paying you. And I said, no. And that's the thing. That's how it needs to be. Because nowadays, if you're able to get that feeling from a parent that they want to pay the coach, that right there tells you you're a hell of a coach. if they want to pay you. They don't. Some parents feel like they're forced to pay, and if you feel forced to pay for a coach, that's probably not the coach you want for your child, because you shouldn't have that forced feeling. You know,
No, I agree with you there. Yeah.
yeah, you're when you pay your mortgage for the house, you're saying, well, what does that have to do with this? Well, think about it. You don't pay the house, you lose it, right? Obviously.
Right.
But you're paying the house. Most of us pay the house and don't have a problem with it. It becomes something that we want to do because at the end of the day, it's going to be ours. So when you want to do that for a coach, you want that knowledge to be yours at all times. So you're going to continue putting money there to be able to give that. Can I say that every coach that does it for profit, does it feel that way to that parent? I don't know. I don't know. I want to say, I hope, I wish for it to be true. At times, I've heard the negatives more than positives. That's the reason why I have the thinking that I have now. But there's one quote that I've been living for a while now that I've been pushing to parents, and I actually did it today. And Charles Barkley, he's a very blunt guy, and I like him. He says, "What is the difference between criticism and coaching?" And he asked his colleague that, which is right next to him, and which is Kenny. And Kenny says, "This is the difference. Barkley, you're fat, you're lazy, and overweight." And he just looked at him, "What? That's criticism. This is coaching. Barkley, you're fat, out of shape. You need to go hit the gym, do some cardio, and fix that." And he goes, "Wait, what did you just call? You felt the difference?" He tells him, "You felt the difference, didn't you?" Oh, he just laughed and looked at him. But that also applies to youth sports, and I live by that. At times, it seems harsh, but when I break it down to the players and I tell them, "Hey, that was a terrible dive," they literally look at me like, "Really? What?" I was like, "Yeah, it's terrible. But if you did this and this, it would have looked way better than it did before." Did it look great? No, not right now. Eventually, it'll be great. It will be better than what you just did right now. And they go like, "How is that any better?" I just told you, it'll look better than what it did right now. This is horrible. This is terrible. Don't do this again. Do it this way. Good. Then better. There's always something to improve on, is what I tell my goalkeepers. So if I told you something, don't take it to heart. Just do it better the next time. But if you keep messing up, it's going to catch up to you.
I saw a quote recently from Kobe Bryant. I couldn't think of the basketball player's name for the life of me.
Yeah.
And he goes, there's perfection, and there's everything in between me and perfection. And every day I try to get closer and closer to perfection, knowing that there's no such thing as being a perfect player, but I can try every day to get closer and closer to being better and better than, and it goes, and I think parents are so focused on, like you said, the flashiness or the moments of, I can't think of any other way of putting it. It is my goalie saved the game-winning goal, or my goalie stopped all the PKs in the finals. And at the end of the day, that's great, but is the form right? Because today it worked, but let's say they play against a tougher team or a player that knows how to place the ball. Are they going to be able to stop that? Because my son will put the ball in the top right corner every time if you ask him to. Good luck for a goalie that's 10 years old, 11 years old to get that on a 9v9 field. I mean, that's an honest statement. I mean, they would have to have a good height and know that's where he places the ball. But then once you realize that's where he's placing the ball, he's going to go put it in the opposite corner on the ground. It doesn't matter how great your goalie is. It's a matter if they're executing what they're being taught correctly. I think I try to use local examples, and the biggest local example the biggest stage here locally is the MLS, FC Dallas. Martin Paz is one of the best goalies I've watched last season in the MLS. I have no clue how he didn't get the Golden Gloves in the MLS. Watching how he has transformed as a player from the time he got here to where he's at now, he's not the same player. And what is it, the drive to go to the next level, to get out of the MLS? There's nothing wrong with that. To go back home to his home country of the Netherlands and go and play in a first division league. Is that his desire, or is it the grind of knowing that he has to be better today than he was tomorrow? And I think hearing what you're saying about the players that you have that are coming to come work with you, not every player has that internal drive to go to the next level or want to be at the next level. Is mom and dad pushing them?
And I'm highly aware of that. I'm highly aware that not every goalkeeper is going to be able to do that. But I'll tell you what I am training for. I am training the goalkeeper to be out of, let's say, I have 35 plus goalkeepers. I need to have at least 3 or 4 of those goalkeepers because there's always going to be a situation where this is just going to continue growing and growing. And the best way to grow it is with the homegrown players that I have. If these kids can go out there and teach what I taught them to others, I have made my mark.
Yep.
In the field that is North Texas soccer right now. For them to be able to take this and teach a younger player what I've taught them is profound, especially with the way I teach it. For them to be able to do it is going to be an amazing sight to see, because these are going to be the next coaches out there, because they're going to reference me when that happens. They'll be the next Aztec goalkeeper coaches out there doing the same work, not charging a dime, just doing it out of them, working a 9-to-5 job, which is what I do, and putting the next seed on the ground to harvest at a later time. So those right there are the things that I'm looking forward to, even if that said player doesn't go pro. And when that said player does go pro, they reference what I did. So others are going to go, hey, you know what? Me and him were training together back in the day. I should connect with him. Hey, man, I made it pro. Hey, you want to continue what Coach Alex did? Yeah, man. Yeah. I got the resources. Let's grow it. This right here will now grow into what all these other goalkeeper coaches have, which is it's going to spread. And it's going to put some of them out of business. I'm sorry. Some of them might be put out of business, but it's a beautiful sight to see, because it's not motivated by money. It's motivated by the action to be able to teach the following generation how to play the position without having to go to the nearest bank or give your bank routing numbers to get trained. That's what we're looking forward to.
And I think I'm not trying to diminish what you just said, because I think I look at the NFL and you start looking at head coaches' legacies. It's harder to trace in soccer, I feel, but the NFL, because there's so many coaches underneath one coach, you can take some of the most successful coaches now in the NFL and trace them back to 2 coaches, Bill Belichick and Andy Reid. And it's crazy. And then you trace a little bit of lineage to where they got their coaching experience from, and it goes back to very successful coaches. And people don't see that. And what you just described there made me think of like a family tree of like when you do genealogy, and it's how
Correct.
it all.
And
And
the
I
reason
think
it doesn't, yeah, go ahead.
I think it fizzles because of and it goes back, it fizzles because of the lack of drive, determination to do it, the why. And I think what I was trying to explain earlier is maybe not to go to the pro level, but it's the self-determination on the inside to push themselves to be the best individuals that they can be. You were so driven to self-educate that you just inhaled everything. And now you have a chance to give that back, and your tree will grow the same way that you have grown, but you're able to do it probably at a faster pace than some of these paid coaches that are
Yeah,
doing it.
Correct, because my drive is so different from a coach that is looking to gain money from it. Because if I wanted to, even my parents have said, "Hey, we'll pay you to do this." And I said, "That's not what I'm looking for." And being able to have to me, being able to have a nonprofit, advanced, intermediate, I would say academy, where for 2 hours every Friday night for the past few years, grow into what it's grown now and continue to grow. That in the past I would never thought I would be in a podcast or be in somebody else's word of mouth in a good way, tells me that this is something that can get even bigger. But the only way it gets bigger is if I coach my goalkeepers the way I needed to be coached, which is disciplined and committed. So when they either go pro or they don't go pro or become coaches themselves, they take pride into the position and say, a long time ago, Coach Alex started something that no other coach did for me. And now at the age of, I don't know, age 18, 20, and this is, me make believe land right now as a kid. I want to pretend that one of my goalkeepers has already grown up, and I think one or two are going to actually do it. Now they're doing, you know what? I'm going to follow the Aztec goalkeeper thing and under my name and give credit to coach. And I'm going to start teaching what I was taught. So the next generation goes on. I think that's the proper way to go along with a nonprofit mindset that I've had because it just spreads the right way. And I want that. And I think a little bit ago, you touch on a quote that Kobe Bryant talked about. And I have one of my quotes too, that Kobe Bryant actually, and I wouldn't say quote, more of an exchange with another player. And I forget his name, but he said this, and this is pretty much going into the subject of commitment and discipline. And a lot of times he said, "Hey, I would ask Kobe in games why he wouldn't pass me the ball. As you know, Kobe doesn't really release the ball. It's something that he always had. Same thing with Michael Jordan. And so he asked him that. And he told him basically this: practice, what time did you leave? Oh, well, practice ends at, I'm going to say just this because I don't remember the exact words used, 7 o'clock. Okay. I don't leave till 1 or 2 in the morning. Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. At what time are you working out? Yada, 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 yada. And Colby said, okay, well, I'm 2 hours doing 2 hours extra more than what I'm supposed to do working out than you. Okay. And then the last question goes, what's your shot percentage or whatnot? It's what Kobe asked. What's your stats? And goes, oh, this and that. Well, for the last couple of years, these are my stats. I said, moral of the story is, Kobe said, I outwork you. I get up earlier. I stay longer after practice. I do everything in my power to make sure that we win games. And when we lose, I'm out here trying to fix what went wrong. I don't go home. I'm still here because I outdo everybody else in the game. And people say it's selfish, but I don't think so. I think he hit this right, the nail on the head. I get to shoot this ball a lot more than anybody else should in the club because I am outworking everybody out here. I want this more than anybody else. Until I see you doing the things I'm doing, then I'll maybe start thinking of giving you the ball more often so you can make the shot. But until that happens, I'm doing the shots. I'm calling them. I'm doing them until I can get everybody in the same work ethic that I have. And people kind of said, "Oh, that's selfish," and that's the reason why he was in the news all the time. But I think Shaq said it best and said, if I just listened to him and probably stayed in shape and worked as hard as he was, I would have maybe 10 rings or 8 rings instead of the 4 that I have. So that just tells you the mentality that these players at the youth level, you're saying, well, what does that have to do with the youth kids right now? You're comparing pros to kids. What are you doing? What are you talking about, Alex? Why would you do that? It's not the same. No, it's not. It's not the same. However, it is the same. If I say, well, why? How?
because if you plant the seed in fertile soil is our youth, right? That's the
Yeah.
soil, right? And then nobody goes outside and sees a tree right off the bat, just the next day. You don't plant a seed and you go the next day and go, oh, look at the freaking humongous tree that came out of that freaking ground. Of course not. It's dumb, right? No, you plant that seed and you add water, you give it sunlight, and eventually you get a tree out of it. Imagine planting Kobe's attitude and just mentality of how he sees a basketball game into the drive of a lot of these kids. Not everybody's going to come out like a Kobe. We're not asking for that, but we're asking for little bits and pieces to be able to get a player that was once in a lifetime, to get some of these players to be able to become their own Kobe's, their own Michael Jordans. And that's what it is. You're not going to get an exact copy, but you want to be as close as you can to some of these. And not everybody's going to have that, which is the reason why I said some of these are going to become great coaches and great role models for the ones that eventually want to get to that level. So, yeah, I think this is the perfect opportunity for players trying to become better, for them to watch these past role models like Kobe and Shaquille O'Neal, because they show that what happens whenever you're driven to do something.
Even if they don't make it to that top tier level of whatever their dream may be, it is like you said. I look at sports the more I've gotten older, and especially as a parent, I should rephrase that. As a parent, sports provide an avenue for kids to learn life traits, and I think parents are so heavily focused on the W's and L's that they forget that you can learn so much from the skill levels that you learn. Just learning how to be committed and having discipline going into being an adult is going to be much farther and much more useful for them, and having high expectations for them as an adult. I think that's where parents miss the whole world of the sports. When you say 0.05% of all athletes go on to be pro, are we teaching the other 99.95% of the other athletes to be good adults in the world? And not to bring current world situations into this purposely, but look at the current workforce. No one wants to work. No one wants to do anything because there's been no commitment. There's been no discipline, and there's been no high expectations held of kids prior. And I'm looking at this as a 39-year-old parent, looking at my kid trying, when he turns 18, will he be a value member of society that wants to achieve more than mediocrity? And sports provide that avenue, and you're built, like you said, you're providing the foundation, the fertilizer, and the groundwork for them to have that there. I just think that's remarkable, and which I don't know what else to say other than that. And you're not willing, you're doing it out of the goodness of your heart versus the well-being of your wallet. And I think that's the hard thing in our society to understand, that some things are that are free we don't always see as valued, and everything has value as long as you understand the transaction that's being done. And I don't think, and that could be, and I think it's part of the problem with our society. If it does not cost $300 a month, is there any true value in it? And I think we have to take a step back and realize there's people that are just kind people, but have
The
expectations.
the only thing I would say why no when you start looking more into it and seeing what I've seen in the past when I was growing up was the fact that there wasn't a program like mine. And so that got me thinking that if I just grew it and I just word of mouth, social media, North Texas versus the world, goalkeepers of North Texas, all these different avenues that help out parents find the right coach, that helped me build what I have now. I'm thankful for that. However, I'm going to be honest. I'm not on everybody's good list. I'm not everybody's favorite coach. And not a lot of coaches can just literally tell you straight up they're not liked. And am I proud of it? Yes and no. Because for one, I'm proud that if my words are getting to you, there must be some truth to what I'm saying. There has to be something that I said that's provoking you to be upset at what I'm saying, because there's nothing to refute what I'm saying, because there's no money behind it. I think that's the
Right.
reason why it's so hard for people to come to a podcast like yours and you ask them why you did this and not have money come be part of the conversation. So for me to sit here and criticize certain things that other goalkeepers coaches do, one being the amount of money they charge. And again, everybody's free to charge whatever they want. I get it. You went through, I guess, the titles, you went and got licenses, the fields, all this costs money. I always get the same argument as to counter mine, which is, Alex, things cost money. We got to get field rentals, the equipment, all that's all put together. You got to understand that. And I always say, well, look at it this way. Look at the amount you're charging per kid. So 8 kids show up and you charge each kid $150 to show up to your camp. How much money was made right there? And then they only charge you $150 to maybe rent the field. I don't see exactly where you're saying that you have to charge this amount of money because of what you're doing. One thing that also catches my eye is the fact that I'm also being blacklisted from certain things because of the things that I say. It rubs off the wrong way. And some of the people that I come across that are hostile by it. They don't like what I've said. They don't like my opinions on the position. They think less of me because I don't have these things to back me up. However, my videos and my goalkeepers themselves can attest for what I've taught them. And my reviews are also part of that too. Now, and basically, when you put it all together, when you're out there given the same amount of training to some degree without charging the amount of money that others do, I'm cutting away at their profits. That's the only thing I can think of. Somehow or some way, I'm cutting away their profits, and parents are starting to ask questions to them, like, "Why didn't you teach this? I've seen Coach Alex do this, or I've seen this other coach do this." They're starting to ask questions. As a parent, that's perfect. You shouldn't be upset. Make sure the question's smart, though. Don't go to. You wouldn't go to the supermarket and you know ask for directions on how to be able to fix certain things at the house at Walmart. You go to Home Depot for that. You get what I'm saying? There's a certain
No,
thing for
yeah,
certain
there's a
things that
time
you
and
do.
place.
Correct. So now that I've given a little bit of a eye-opening thing, third eye to some parents, they started seeing what was shown to them by these for-profit training camps or individual trainings that they go and say, I don't think I should be paying for this. I think I'm paying way too much if I am paying for it. And I'm not really getting much out of it because my child still is the same after this amount of time. So that those questions get asked, those reactions, I'm guess, started. So you start looking for the culprit, and you notice that the only thing in the area that's not charging any money and has a bunch of goalkeepers coming to them at a certain time every week. Oh, that's Coach Alex in North Texas Aztecs Elite Goalkeeper Training. That has to be the only guy that's putting these thoughts or questions in their head.
And I think that's where people have issues. You're challenging the status quo of, I would say, American soccer community.
Profits over
Not
development.
profits over development. And we can have a whole conversation over that, because I can be more than glad to dive into that, because
Yeah.
my
But
son,
for this instance, yeah, we can say that I think for goalkeeping, yeah, it's a monetized system, and if you do your research and you look just to kind of prove what I'm telling you, I am the only free 100% program in the DFW area.
that doesn't charge money to make a profit. And if I do make a profit, all the money, which can be anywhere from 60 to $100, goes back to the program. And I actually have a Cash App credit card, or I'd say a debit card, and I put all the funds in it. And I am the only program that parents put money in, like a little bank account. All 14 to 20 parents, they can put 20 to $50, and it just keeps growing. At one point, I had over $500, but I use that money for equipment and buying rechargeable lights so we can have lights when we train at night, where they can grab money out of that little bank and use it for gloves, or they didn't have enough money to sign up for a tournament, that they can borrow, and then as long as they put it back, it's all good. And being able to do that, being able to give all this without charging a dime, yes, you're right. I am challenging the status quo. Sorry, said it wrong.
You're good.
There's one small thing that I've also wanted to mention. I do a lot of giveaways. I give away gloves. Recently, I did that. Now, and I'm gonna this in a light way and make it easy. All the for-profit goalkeeper training programs in the area, such as TCS, Goalkeeper U, and I think somebody else did. They started seeing eyes on that, on what I was doing. Philip Perron's another one. He's another goalkeeper coach that does for profit. And I'm pretty sure way before I started doing it, they were giving away some things. It was a coincidence to me that when I started giving away gloves every other month for a while, they came together with, I guess, a store and a go that sells soccer and stuff like that. And again, if they're doing it for the goodness of their hearts, I have no problem with it. I just thought it was funny. It's a coincidence that I've been doing this to get people to recognize my training and get more goalkeepers to see, hey, come out here. You know, I did it as a marketing. I'm being honest, to market my free training. That's weird, ain't it? I'm marketing something for free by giving away things, because then that puts a word of mouth, which puts you in contact with me.
Right.
Well, they did the same thing and said 3 lucky winners. You send your videos, because I did the whole video thing where I had goalkeepers send me videos of they did a great save here, and then I will rank them. And if you won first place, I'll send you some awesome gloves and whatever. Well, kind of funny story. They started doing that on their pages and advertising. Oh, we're raising money for the goalkeepers and for equipment. And I'm like, but you're a for-profit training. How does that work? I'm sorry. I'm just calling it out how I see it. Philip Ferron did this. I ain't gonna lie. I saw where he posted where his things are big. It's like a PS5 he was giving out and all these other things, but saying all that money goes into my buying equipment for my goalkeepers and all that. I'm like, well, I don't get it. You're charging $200 a pop for goalkeepers. How do you not have money for equipment? Or where did that equipment go? I was like, I get what was behind it. So I kept my mouth shut, because I'm not here to get upset over something like that. I'm happy that they're doing something to raise money for their cause or whatever. I'm just dumbfounded that out of nowhere, all these for-profit goalkeeper coaches and programs copied what I was doing, and it felt more out of spite than it did to give back to the community. They'll probably go on your podcast one of these days and address it, but I call BS because the facts are there. And because when I started doing it, I had a bunch of shares, likes on North Texas Soccer. Because if you go look at my, I guess, points or whatever, I got over 20,000, 26,000.
Right.
Over the fact that, yeah, it's up there, you know? And it just seemed funny to me that all this stuff started happening. They started, I want to be honest, copying my style of marketing to disrupt what I was doing and be like, hey, and in my way, my understanding is like, hey, look, this is what I thought this the message is. Whatever you can do, we can do it, but better. So I one upped it. You talked about your friend receiving the gloves and the gear and all that.
Yes.
I did a full kit. I didn't do just gloves. I did a full kit. I was like, oh, cool. I'll up it. You want to play that game? I can do it. And it's funny that I stopped doing it. Now, here's the thing. Follow this. I stopped doing it because I wanted to see something. I said, I'm not going to post about giveaways no more for a while. I haven't seen it again from any of them recently. It's only when I do it.
It's keeping the competitive edge, and like you said, it's
But how could? But
disrupting the
here's the thing.
status
Here's the
quo.
thing. Here's the thing. Why are you competing with something that's free? What are you scared of?
I can't say for them as an individual business,
Well,
but
my opinion.
looking at
I'm
it
asking
from
you as an
my
opinion.
perspective, they're losing clients or getting questioned that they can't answer.
Correct. I wanted to hear you I wanted to hear you out of your mouth what you just said because I wanted to be on record. The reason is because of those things you just said. Because again, you're fighting a non-profit program over goalkeepers. Let that sink in for a little bit. It's it's like going to, it's like putting a Walmart next to the Salvation Army.
Yeah. I
And
can get
putting a
behind.
Target
I can understand what you're saying with that one.
and putting a
Yes.
Target across the street. And to add more to that, putting an HEB on the other side of the highway. But you're right next to the Salvation Army. The Walmart's right next to the Salvation Army. They're not even across each other, just right next to each other. That's basically what it is.
North Texas, like you said from the very beginning, North Texas is a different beast, in my opinion, than anywhere else. I
And
have had in every aspect, but I feel the more niche of a position in a sport for soccer, it's goalkeeping. I can't imagine the Wild West of it all, so to speak.
it's just so
Of
weird because when I wasn't really going to touch this subject, but I did it just because eventually it's going to come to the way because they're going to feel a type of way once this goes out. They're going to be like, "Oh, he's attacking." Again, I am not attacking them. My only concern is why does it have to be a nonprofit, I would say, training program to push you to try to do something to give to goalkeepers back? Why did it take someone like me to do what you could have done a long time ago? It shouldn't. And because I recently stopped just to see what would happen. I haven't seen any other giveaways other than so maybe discounts now. So here's another thing. You're gonna laugh at this one, and you can look this up. So for a while, I was posting on North Texas Soccer versus the World that my training is a game changer for profit training. I would make fun of others like, hey, there's no need to pay sky high hourly training, sky high what do you call it? Group trainings, all that stuff. And I started looking at the for profit training around the area. Their prices started dropping. I started seeing individual goalkeeping for a while was going for like maybe $100 for an hour or something like that. Out of nowhere, I start seeing TCS offering, come try us out. Your session will be $40, $60. And I'm like, what? So you've been reading what I've been posting that the amount of money you're charging to a kid is just too much to start out with hourly. Out of nowhere, I guess the goodness of your heart grew, I don't know how big. And now you started your $40 to $60. I mean, I guess that's good. And it forced some of them to change their prices. So I feel good about that, you know, me calling you out on the amount of money. But then again, I think about it, I'm like, not really, because it's only for a limited time. You know, it's just a way to get you in saying, hey, whatever this guy's saying is BS. We're not very expensive. We can work with you. But that all changes once you start going to their website and you go, holy crap, I have to start looking at how much I'm going to pay monthly for this guy. And then I have to do my monthly expense for the club.
I guess it works well for people that make money and can afford to do these type of teachings for their kids. You know what I mean?
Right.
But for the others that don't have a choice before I came along, who was there before me? Again, that's
Right.
my question is, why did it take someone like me to come ruffle your feathers to do something about the position, giveaways, discounts? Something I'm doing it's hurting you. What really is it? Is it me being arrogant and sometimes I guess people say I'm rude by the way I write things on North Texas versus the world just to point out your flaws and things that you should change about yourself? Or what really is the issue? What's hurting you?
And I mean, we'll get into that here in a few, but I get what you're saying. And I was just looking at North Texas versus the world, by the way, just as you're saying all that. And I think the argument that you have to watch, and I work in corporate America and I see it every day. And if you're not doing the same type of business we are, we will attack you. And it's a small business against a big business. Here in North Texas, it's big clubs gobbling up the little clubs. And then the little
Yeah,
clubs that were gobbled up were left with nothing.
mergers.
The mergers. And unless there's something in the works and whoever emerged, if the original body of the club is still intact, so to speak, that section will thrive very well under the large club. But it's a matter of at what cost to the players. And
Hey everyone, I hope you all enjoyed this week's episode. I'm going to keep this short because next week is the final episode, and I'll give my final thoughts on all of this. Hey everyone, if you guys have enjoyed this podcast, have enjoyed what I've been trying to do, the messages that I'm putting out there, please give me some ratings, some stars on all the podcast sites that you listen to this on. Give me a review, share this, share with others. The more I can make this grow, the more I can continue doing this. I'm really trying to make a difference in our soccer community. So I hope you guys have enjoyed all this. And until next time, I'll see you at the pitch.